Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So yeah, I just wanted to give my final thoughts on this highly anticipated fight that's coming up in a few days now. Wanted to talk a little bit about the pay-per-view numbers, all access, and what to expect in this fight, and what both Floyd Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez have been saying leading up to this mega fight. So let's start with the pay-per-view numbers. Now, as much as I would love to see the pay-per-view record get shattered and all of that, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not believe that this fight will break that record of Mayweather versus De La Hoya, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, for starters, you guys have to understand that when Mayweather fought Oscar De La Hoya, he was the biggest draw in the entire sport, just like Floyd Mayweather is today, right? So De La Hoya was the biggest draw, and Floyd Mayweather was pound for pound the best fighter in the world, okay? Now, at the same time, for the first time, you had, a new show called 24/7 that had just been released. And for the first time, fans got to see how these guys train, what these guys do on their off time, et cetera, et cetera. Somewhat of a reality show for the boxers. And this obviously really helped the pay-per-view numbers. And then on top of it, this reality show was on HBO, which HBO is the biggest movie channel on cable, right? So all of these things really helped that fight become the biggest fight. Not to mention you got Floyd Mayweather's flamboyant personality, and like I said before, flat out, realistically, a lot of fans were not used to seeing some black guy just come out of nowhere and be cocky and confident and talk about beating, the biggest draw of the sport, right? And you can best believe that Mexican fans, they really weren't used to that, right? Because of the pride that Mexican fans have for them to hear a black guy talk about being the best and beating the shit out of their guy Oscar De La Hoya, they couldn't wait to watch that fight. So these are some of the reasons why that fight was such a smash when it came to breaking pay-per-view numbers. Okay, so like I said, at the time, De La Hoya was the biggest draw. Floyd Mayweather, pound for pound, best fighter in the world. That makes for a very good combination of success financially. Now, this is where the problem lies when it comes to Mayweather versus Canelo in terms of competing with the Mayweather-De La Hoya numbers. Now, don't get me wrong. This pay-per-view fight is going to be a success no matter what. But the reason why I don't think that it will surpass the numbers of a Mayweather-De La Hoya fight is simply because of this. From my personal experience of going to the weigh-ins, the last time I went to the Mayweather-Cotto arrival at the MGM Grand, and like I told you guys this before, of course, when Miguel Cotto arrived at the MGM Grand, the crowd went crazy. When Mayweather arrived, the roof came down, right? I mean, everybody was going crazy. You had people at the MGM Grand that didn't even know that a fight was going on, but they just heard that Mayweather was coming, and they were all like, "Whoa! I heard Mayweather was coming. I heard Mayweather's going to be here." So a lot of people who didn't even know about the fight, they were waiting around in the crowd because they heard that Mayweather was coming. But however, when Canelo arrived, nobody, except for of course Mexican fans, no one really knew who Canelo was. Like I said before, because I was there, I had people asking. You could just hear people asking all around me, like, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy right here?" And I remember telling one guy, "Yeah, that's Canelo Alvarez. He's pretty big. He's like the biggest Mexican draw. He's the biggest star in Mexico, et cetera, et cetera." So there was a lot of people that was asking, "Who is Canelo Alvarez?" So, this is one of the main reasons why I don't think that this fight is going to be as big as Mayweather versus De La Hoya. The boxing world and especially the Canelo fans, they tried to make Canelo bigger than he really was just based on how he looks, right? A lot of Canelo fans believe just because the way he looks that, America is going to just fall in love with him and, and adopt him as the next big star, the next big golden boy, but it hasn't really played out that way. Canelo's numbers were relatively low for fights that he had against Josito Lopez, against Austin Trout. Tim Bradley did far better numbers fighting against Ruslan Provodnikov. And remember, Bradley was fighting against a complete unknown, and he did better numbers than Canelo did. Of course, Adrian Broner did better numbers than Canelo. So, like I said, America in its whole they really don't know who Canelo Alvarez is yet. And it could be because it's too early. Don't get me wrong. I could clearly see Alvarez being a huge star, and if Alvarez was to beat Floyd Mayweather, he would really be a big star. But at this time, I don't see Alvarez being a big enough star to help in breaking a Mayweather De La Hoya record. Realistically, Mayweather, just like against the Guerrero fight, or I should say Mayweather, just like in the Guerrero fight, Mayweather is pretty much the one that's carrying this entire pay-per-view card. Don't get me wrong, Canelo has something to do with it, but for the most part, Mayweather is carrying the card. If you guys haven't seen the MGM Grand building, it has 4 huge full-size posters of Floyd Mayweather on all 4 corners of the building that pretty much cover up almost that whole side of the building. And remember, it's only a picture of Floyd Mayweather. There is no picture of Canelo Alvarez. It's a full-size picture of Floyd Mayweather, and it says Mayweather versus Canelo Alvarez. And even when Floyd Mayweather doesn't have a fight scheduled, his poster remains on the MGM Grand building. So, once again, this is what I mean when I say, realistically, Floyd Mayweather is going to be the one that's going to carry this pay-per-view. All right? Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, Canelo Alvarez, he's going to bring tons of fans to come watch the fight, But all I'm saying is if you're comparing Canelo Alvarez's star power to a Floyd Mayweather, to an Oscar De La Hoya, he's not quite on that level yet. Now, if he were to beat Floyd Mayweather, he would be on that level. But as of now, he's not on that level. And for that reason, I don't see Mayweather, Canelo breaking the all-time pay-per-view record. So now I want to talk a little bit about All Access, some of the things that I kind of noticed when I was watching. One of the things that I noticed that I thought was kind of strange, a strange thing to say at least. I remember Canelo Alvarez was training in the ring. I don't remember if it was episode 2 or 3. But as he was training, his trainer said something that I kind of found a little surprising. His trainer started to tell Canelo, he said, just don't let it get to you when you see the 30,000 people in the arena, when you see the lights and the big stage, just don't let that get to you. It's just another day and et cetera, right? I found that pretty interesting and telling because it would seem to me that someone with 42 fights, someone who is a champion, et cetera, someone like that, you wouldn't have to tell them that because you would already expect them to have enough confidence to be able to fight on the big stage. As far as I'm concerned, if you're telling your charge that, especially on national television, then you as a trainer, you're not really sure how your fighter is going to respond or how he's going to react to the big stage, to the big lights. And this is what we hear Floyd Mayweather say all the time. How is he going to respond to being on the big stage? How is he going to perform in front of the big lights and et cetera, right? So obviously Canelo Alvarez's trainers, they are not completely confident on knowing how he will respond. Also, this past week, I've been watching the Canelo Trout fight, and I've been watching some of Mayweather's fights this last week just to kind of get a little bit more of an idea of how this fight may play out. The good thing about watching a certain fight multiple times is a lot of times you'll notice certain things in the fight that you didn't notice before. In watching the Canelo versus Trout fight, I noticed a lot of things with Canelo Alvarez that I didn't really pay attention to before. For example, I noticed in the later rounds, Canelo Alvarez, he's somewhat of an ambush fighter. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Victor Ortiz, because what Canelo would do in the later rounds is he would explode with a hard punch or a hard combination, and regardless if it lands or it doesn't land, right after he throws it, then he'll back up. Like he's trying to get a quick second win every single time he throws a hard punch. Now, it seemed to me eventually Austin Trout, he caught on to this. And Austin Trout, what he would do is he would let Canelo throw this hard combination, and then right after Canelo would throw it, Trout would jump on Canelo. And a lot of times what Canelo would do, Canelo would just go in and just grab Trout. He would hold Trout, right? But the way he would hold Trout, it would be in somewhat of a panic, right? It's not this calm type of, grab you, tie you up. It's somewhat of a panic, And a lot of times I noticed that when Trout caught Canelo with a good punch, that would also prompt Canelo to get on his bicycle and start moving around the ring. And then whenever Trout would get in the inside, Canelo would hold and he would tie up Trout. So these are just little things that I noticed, and I really question Canelo Alvarez's confidence. I don't really believe he has all the confidence in the world. At least he definitely doesn't have the confidence that his fans have. But on a positive note for Canelo Alvarez, Canelo has been saying recently, the way to beat Floyd Mayweather, you have to be intelligent. You have to apply pressure, but you have to do it intelligently. Now, he is absolutely right when he says that. Quite frankly, that's what I've been saying for the longest. You have to be aggressive, but you have to do it very, very intelligently. You can't just stick your head in the meat grinder, taking 5 shots to land your 2 hard punches. So Canelo, he has the right game plan, but the question is, can he execute it? Because like I said, you're going in the ring with a mastermind. Now, let me address something that I seen live at the Mayweather gym that they didn't talk about on All Access. Something happened when I was there that I thought was kind of strange. Basically, Floyd Mayweather was sparring, right? And Floyd Mayweather was about 2 minutes into his sparring. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was no punch landed or anything. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Floyd Mayweather, he turns away. He walks back to Floyd Sr., and he just starts taking off all of his gear, his headgear, everything. He takes off all of his gear. He steps out of the ring, and he leaves the gym. I think he goes to his dressing room, and he didn't come back out. And everyone was looking puzzled. I talked to a couple people who watch him spar every time, and they said, I've never seen him do that before, right? Now, this happened about a week or 2 weeks ago when I was, recording a lot of footage over there. And now I came back the next day, and Floyd Mayweather, he sparred like nothing ever happened. It was like it never happened. So I just thought that was really strange because he just stopped for no reason at all, So I don't know exactly what it meant. I don't know if he was trying to preserve his hands from being injured or whatever the case may be, but it was a strange situation. But nevertheless, I don't think this is going to stop Mayweather from putting on a great performance. I just want to leave you guys with this. Now, for all the people who said that Floyd Mayweather was scared to death of Canelo and he would never fight him, and now that Canelo is fighting him, now people want to say Canelo is not experienced enough. Let me just say this real quick. Imagine if the roles were reversed, right? Imagine if Canelo Alvarez was 37, Mayweather was 23. Canelo Alvarez is a junior welterweight. Mayweather is a natural welterweight, full-fledged, right? Who would you have winning that fight? Remember, they said De La Hoya was old at 33.